It's time for Recipe of the Day. Boneless, skinless chicken thighs on the grill are delicious almost no matter what you do, but if you follow my steps, they will be the best ever. And the first question is whether you should marinate them or not. And I will say that quite often if I'm doing like a bunch of meal prep, I'm just putting a whole bunch of chicken thighs on the grill, or if I'm in a hurry and just want a quick dinner, I just season them, put a bit of oil in there and get them onto the grill, and everybody likes them. They're delicious. But if I have that little bit more time and I can marinate them, they become insane. So good. So if you're not going to marinate them, if you don't have time or you don't want to, that is fine. You're just going to first unroll them if they're in those little bundles. You know, when you get chicken thighs, the boneless, skinless chicken thighs, the butcher has taken the bone out and has wrapped the chicken back around where the bone was. You want to unroll those so that you're getting seasoning on all surface area possible. And then you're going to cook them unrolled as well. So you're going to unroll them, season them all over with salt, garlic powder, whatever seasonings you like, and then add a little oil, and then you'll be cooking them on the grill the same way I'm going to be talking about how to cook the marinated ones. So you can totally just do that. But if you have a little bit more time, you want to make a marinade. Now, I told you the other day about my extra super flavorful chicken thigh marinade. That's the one that has fresh onion and garlic and fresh thyme leaves pureed into the liquid, and it has salt in there too. So then that marinade ends up acting like a brine and brings all those flavors like the onion juice and the garlic juice, the liquid, right into the chicken meat. If you have time, you need to give that a try. You won't believe it. But this version that I'm telling you about today is very similar, but without the pureeing step. What you're going to do is get out a large zip top bag, and into it you're putting 3/4 of a cup of water. You could use something more flavorful if you wanted to, like chicken broth, chicken stock. I just don't find it necessary because we're going to add a lot of flavor. 3/4 of a cup of water, 1/4 cup of honey, the sweetness in there, some kind of sugar. That actually adds great flavor, of course, but also helps the chicken to brown and get those really nice caramelized grill marks. If you want those, you need something sweet in here. Then also 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. That's the acidity in our marinade that kind of helps penetrate and tenderize the outside of the meat. A tablespoon of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of dried thyme leaves, 1/4 cup of olive oil, or if you want to use a less expensive oil, you can. It's not really for flavor here. It's just to help act as a conduit for some of the flavors. You know how some flavors are soluble in water, others are soluble in alcohol, and others are soluble in oil. So that's what this is here for. I'm just thinking you could use a little splash of wine in here to also add that extra layer of flavor to help the flavors really get dissolved into the marinade and then work in the chicken. That's not in this recipe though. Okay, then also 2 tablespoons of soy sauce and then 2 teaspoons of salt. Both the soy sauce and the salt are acting as the like brining agents here. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper and a teaspoon of paprika. I really like to use smoked paprika, but you can use plain paprika. You could do hot paprika. It might be a little bit spicy. Okay, so that's all in the zip top bag. You're going to shake it up really, really good to dissolve the salt. And then you are adding about 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs that you've unrolled first. That's going to be about 6 of them. Pop them into that bag and then do your best to get as much air out of the bag as possible as you seal it up. Now, if you wanted to, you could instead do this in some kind of bowl. You just need it to be narrow enough that all of the chicken is submerged. And same goes with this bag. You really want everything to be like covered in the liquid. And so I tend to kind of stand it up in the fridge and then everything's really submerged, or leave it for half the time kind of on one side and then flip it over because there's always some like poking out a little bit, you know? Okay, now that is marinating for 1.5 hours. 90 minutes. No more than that because the salt content in that marinade, because it's kind of like a brine, if you go longer, it can start to make the chicken quite salty. If you wanted to marinate for longer, my advice would be to leave the soy sauce in the marinade, but don't put the salt in there. And instead, then you can marinate it for longer. You can do your overnight thing or whatever it is that you normally do. Some people freeze the chicken in there. You can do that and then take the chicken out of the marinade, pat it dry, and then you will add a little bit of salt to it before cooking. If you have the salt in the marinade, though, you will not add any more salt later. Okay, after those 90 minutes, like I said, you're going to take the chicken out, take it out of the marinade, pat it dry. You can get the grill preheating first. You want it at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for direct cooking. So that's over high heat. If your grill has a thermometer, you're turning it up high, covering it, and you want it to get up to 450. If you don't have a thermometer, turn your grill up high, put the lid down, and then when you think it's good and hot, open it up and you're putting your hands palm side down 5 inches above the grill grates, and then you're going to count real seconds, like 1 motorboat, 2 motorboat, until you have to pull your hands away. And if it's between 2 to 4 seconds, that's going to be hot enough. Now, before the chicken goes onto the grill, you're going to give it a little bit of oiling up. So it's about 2 tablespoons brushed all over the chicken. And then those are going on to that very hot grill, still unrolled flat. You are putting them, I like to call it nicer side down. When you look at that chicken thigh, one of those flat sides is the nice rounded sides that would have been at the top of the package when you're buying it at the grocery store. The other side is where all the cuts were made by the butcher, right? You want your nicest grill marks to be on that rounder, smoother side. So you're going to start with those down, because usually you get the best grill marks in that first contact with the grill. So you've oiled the chicken up, and then you are putting them round and smooth side down, unrolled, round, smooth side down on the grill grates, and then you're putting the cover down and you're cooking them until the grill marks appear underneath. It's going to take 4 to 5 minutes. Then I like to use a metal spatula to really get between the chicken and the grill so that there's no sticking here, but often they're not sticking at all and tongs are going to work. I just don't like to risk it, so I'm going with that really quick, fast movement, scrape right under the chicken against the grill and flip them over and do another 4 to 5 minutes underneath. They may not get the full grill marks on this side, but you want them to start browning. At this point, you're using a thermometer to check the temperature inside of those chicken pieces. In one of the thicker pieces, check it should be at 165 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's not, you can flip it over and cook for about 2 minutes per side, flipping every 2 minutes until it's cooked through. It's not going to take much longer. 4 to 6 minutes really just comes down to how thick your chicken thighs were and exactly how hot that grill really was. You're opening and closing it. You know what I mean, right? The nice thing about chicken thighs, though, is that they actually benefit from cooking to a nice high temperature. So getting them a little over 165 is not going to be the end of the world. So you do the 4 to 5 minutes per side and then another couple of minutes on each side. They are probably done. Cut into one. If it's not pink, you are good to go. Transfer them to a serving platter and let them rest for 5 minutes before serving. I'm just going to interrupt myself here and say, if you did the version of this that did not involve the marinade, remember at the beginning I said season them up and then you're going to put some oil on them and then they're going on the grill, same amount of time and everything. But those ones, because they didn't have that sugar from the honey and the marinade, they may not get as good grill marks and they don't have as much flavor right through them because they didn't have that marinade brine going on. If I'm doing that, I will often do a little barbecue sauce for just a little bit of time. I will link to my barbecue grilled chicken thighs for you, but basically what I do is grill them for that first 4 or 5 minutes with no sauce, and then I flip them, and then I brush the side that was in contact with the heat before, so that side gets a little barbecue sauce. Then we keep it there for 4 or 5 minutes, then flip them over, so now the barbecue sauce is getting a chance to char up a little bit. Brush the side that is now on top with barbecue sauce, and then you can just serve them after they hit the temperature that you want, or you can flip them again and char a little bit more on that second side. It's just really nice to get a little bit of the charred barbecue sauce and a little bit of the juicy, saucy barbecue sauce, right? So I like having one side really charred and the other side more juicy still. Okay, I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is August 7th of 2025. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.